So this is how to modulate from one key into another when you're doing hymn playing. So for my example, I have For the Beauty of the Earth as the hymn. It's in G major, and let's say I want to go to A major. So first, it's helpful, and you should learn the key as the hymn in G, and then learn it in A, which is the key that you're eventually going to play it in. And then you can work on modulating from one to the other. So I know the hymn in G, and when I'm trying to modulate, I am going to take chords that are kind of similar or are common in both of the keys. So a lot of that is trial and error. For me, I just play around with the chords to find which ones work to make a smooth transition. If you have more music theory knowledge, then there's certainly easier ways to do it, but I don't, so I just kind of do it by trial and error and looking at what notes in the scales of both keys are common to both of them. So I just kind of wrote out a chord progression, if you can read it right here. So that's the chord progression that I'm planning to use. And if I was playing this for Mass, I would do this beforehand so that I can have an idea of what I'm going to do when it's time to modulate during the service. So I'm going to play it for you and give you a step-by-step of what I'm doing. So let's say I'm playing the hymn, everybody's singing. So I got to the end of the hymn. That's how you would normally end the hymn. But since I want to modulate, I'm going to, instead of ending on G, the tonic chord, I'm going to end on E minor, which is the relative minor. And that gives the congregation a sense that you're about to do something that's not final, so then they know to wait, and it'll make it easier for you to transition into the new key. So then, if I end on E minor, then I'm going to use that chord progression that I worked with and thought up earlier. So my chord progression is E minor, and then A minor, and then D, F sharp minor, and at this point I'm playing F sharp minor, which has introduced the C sharp in the key of A. So the C sharp isn't in the key of G, but it's in the key of A. So eventually I have to introduce that to start transitioning into the new key. So far I haven't used the C sharp, but now that I'm transitioning into A, I'm introducing the C sharp, and then I do B, E, which is the 5 chord, I think, for A. So then you see, with that thought up chord progression, I was able to transition into A. And then you can take little snippets while you're doing this, instead of just playing chords to transition. You can take little snippets of the hymn itself to make it a little more musical. So I'll demonstrate that in a second. So you can take snippets to make it more interesting, and then once you've transitioned into the new key, in this case A, then you can go back, and since you know the hymn in A major also, then you can play the last line of the hymn as an introduction, and that'll kind of signal to the congregation that we're getting ready to go into the next verse in the new key. So I'm going to demonstrate that. I'll start in G, and then I'll do the chord progression, putting in some things from the hymn itself, and then I'll play the intro again in A major, and then we'll start the next verse. So then I noticed I did this little section right here, and that was the little intro for the next verse. And then I went into the beginning of the new verse in the new key. So that's how I do it. There's other ways to do it, but that's probably the simplest way. Hope that helped. So this is how to modulate from one key into another